Cold open, September 1944. 26,000 feet above the oil fields of Borneo, the twin Allison engines of the P-38 Lightning hummed with perfect synchronization. 1,475 horsepower in each nacelle, 3,000 combined, the kind of power that made the air itself tremble. Through the bulletproof windscreen, the American pilot watched six dark specks climbing desperately from below. Japanese fighters, Mitsubishi Zeros, lightweight, maneuverable, deadly in the hands of experienced pilots. They were climbing toward a formation of B-24 Liberators, heavy bombers, slow, vulnerable. 24 American boys in each aircraft, trusting that the fighters above would keep them alive long enough to complete their mission. The pilot eased his control yoke forward. The P-38 responded instantly, twin booms cutting through thin air as the dive began. Airspeed climbed, 300 miles per hour, 350, 400. Below, the Zeros hadn't seen him yet. They were focused on the bombers. Target fixation, the kind of mistake that killed pilots. The American pilot's hands remained steady on the controls. No wasted movement, no excess correction. Just smooth, practiced precision, born from 2 years of combat and 197 previous missions. The gun sight reticle settled over the lead Zero. Distance, 800 yards. Closing rate, 220 feet per second. Deflection angle, minimal. The geometry was perfect. His thumb moved to the firing button. 450 caliber machine guns and 120 millimeter cannon, all mounted in the nose. No convergence issues, no wing gun alignment problems. Everything fired down a single axis, creating a cone of destruction so concentrated that even a brief burst could tear an aircraft apart. 2 seconds. That's all he needed. That's all he ever needed. The button depressed. The P-38 shuddered as all 5 weapons fired in unison. Tracers arced through the sky. The lead Zero erupted in flame, disintegrating before the pilot could react. Pieces of aluminum and steel tumbled earthward, trailing smoke. The American pilot pulled up sharply, climbing back into the sun. Energy management. Always maintain the altitude advantage. Always keep speed in reserve. The remaining 5 Zeros scattered, their attack broken. The B-24s droned onward untouched. By war's end, this farm boy from Wisconsin would destroy 40 enemy aircraft in aerial combat, a record that would stand unbroken for 80 years, a record that will likely stand forever. This is the story of how precision defeated aggression, how mathematics conquered instinct, how one young man's innovation changed the way America fought the air war in the Pacific. But 3 years earlier, one mistake nearly ended everything before it began. Act 1, Genesis Farm Routes, Wisconsin. Autumn 1939. The harvest field stretched endlessly under a pale October scoop. Corn stubble crunched beneath work boots. The air smelled of turned earth and approaching winter. Colton Vaughn stood in the machinery shed, 17 years old, hands black with grease. The tractor engine lay disassembled on a wooden workbench. Pistons, valves, connecting rods arranged in precise order. His father had declared it unfixable 3 days ago. Too expensive to repair. They'd have to finish harvest by hand. Cole disagreed. He'd spent 2 nights reading the manual by kerosene lamp, studying diagrams, tracing fuel lines and ignition circuits in his mind until he could see the entire system without looking at the drawings. The problem wasn't the carburetor like his father thought. It was the magneto timing, off by 3 degrees. Enough to cause misfires, enough to kill power. Easy to miss if you didn't know what to look for. Cole adjusted the contact points with a feeler gauge. 0.018 inches. Exact specification. He rotated the flywheel, checked the spark. Blue-white. Perfect. You fix it. His father filled the doorway. Tall, weather-beaten, skeptical. Should run now. Cole reinstalled the magneto cover, wiped his hands, climbed into the driver's seat. The engine turned over once, twice. Caught. Settled into a smooth idle. His father's expression didn't change. Finish the North 40 before sunset. Cole nodded, no praise, just expectations. The Wisconsin way. But as he drove the tractor out of the shed, Cole allowed himself a small smile. He'd seen the problem others missed. Found the solution they'd overlooked. Made the broken whole again. It was a skill that would save his life 2 years later. 2 years later, after Pearl Harbor changed everything. December 7th, 1941. The radio crackled with news of burning battleships and thousands dead. Cole sat at the kitchen table, 20 years old now, listening as President Roosevelt called December 7th a date that would live in infamy. His mother cried quietly by the stove. His father stared out the window at fields that still needed plowing. Cole stood up. "I'm enlisting." "We need you here, boy." "They need me more." His father turned from the window. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Not anger, recognition maybe, understanding that some debts couldn't be paid in harvested acres. "You know how to shoot?" "I know how to aim." The next morning, Cole walked 3 miles to the Ashford farm. Margaret Ashford was hanging laundry when he arrived. 22 years old, dark hair, pinned back, eyes the color of summer storms. They'd known each other since childhood, played in the same creek, attended the same one-room schoolhouse, shared their first kiss behind the county church when they were 16. "You're leaving," she said. Not a question. She'd heard the news, seen the resolve in his walk. "I have to." "I know." She unpinned a bedsheet, folded it with practiced efficiency. "How long?" "However long it takes." Maggie set the sheet into the basket, reached into her apron pocket, pulled out a handkerchief she'd been embroidering. White linen with a small M, stitched in blue thread. "For luck," she said, pressing it into his palm. Their fingers touched, held. "Come back to me, Cole Vaughn. I promise." A promise he would keep, just not the way either of them imagined. Lukefield, Arizona, March 1942. The training base sprawled across the desert like a temporary city. Barracks, hangars, runways stretching toward distant mountains. The air smelled of aviation fuel and hot metal. Cole stood with 40 other cadets in the briefing room. An instructor with combat ribbons from the last war explained the basics of aerial gunnery. "Deflection shooting is the hardest skill you'll learn. Most of you will never master it. You'll aim where the enemy is not where he'll be when your bullets arrive. You'll miss, you'll waste ammunition, you'll die." The instructor gestured to a diagram on the blackboard. Fighter traveling at 250 miles per hour. Bullet time of flight, 0.5 seconds. In that half second, the target moves 183 feet. You must lead by that distance. Account for angle, account for range, account for your own speed and his speed and the wind and a dozen other variables, all while somebody's shooting back. Cole studied the diagram. The geometry made sense. Vectors, angles, basic trigonometry applied in 3 dimensions, like adjusting magnetotiming. Find the variables, calculate the correction, execute precisely. That afternoon on the practice range, Cole scored in the top 5%. The instructor made a note in his file: natural aptitude, exceptional spatial awareness. By June, Cole had graduated to advanced training. By August, he was checked out in the P-38 Lightning. The P-38 was unlike anything he'd flown. Twin engines, twin booms, tricycle landing gear, counter-rotating propellers that eliminated torque. It handled like a dream and hit like a sledgehammer. 4 50 caliber machine guns, 1 20mm cannon, all nose-mounted, all firing along the aircraft's center line. When you aim the plane, you aim the guns. Simple, deadly, effective. Cole fell in love with it immediately. The Violation, Hamilton Field, California, September 1942. The morning fog hung thick over San Francisco Bay. Cole sat in the cockpit of his assigned P-38 running through pre-flight checks. Oil pressure good? Fuel mixture rich? Propeller governors responding. The mission briefing had been routine. Ferry flight to Sacramento. 2 hours there, 2 hours back. Formation practice. Navigation exercise. Nothing complicated. Cole released the brakes. The Lightning rolled forward, gathering speed. At 120 miles per hour, he rotated. The nose lifted. The main gear left the runway. Climbing through 500 feet, he retracted the landing gear and felt the aircraft accelerate as drag decreased. The fog broke at 2,000 feet. Suddenly, the whole bay spread below him. The Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz Island, the city rising in geometric patterns of streets and buildings. And Cole made a decision that would nearly end his career. He'd been flying practice formations for 6 weeks, straight and level, turns in unison, by-the-book procedures that dulled the edge of what the P-38 could actually do. But now, alone in clear air, with 3,000 horsepower at his fingertips, something shifted. He rolled inverted, pushed the nose down. The bridge filled as windscreen red paint and massive cables rushing closer. Airspeed climbed past 300, 350. The airframe began to buffet as compressibility effects built up on the wings. Cole pulled through the bottom of the loop, pulling 4Gs, the horizon rotating as he climbed vertically past the bridge's south tower. At the top of the loop, hanging inverted with the city above his head and the bay below, he executed a perfect aileron roll. People on the bridge stopped their cars, pointed, watched as the twin-boom fighter performed aerobatics that it violated half a dozen Army Air Force regulations. Cole didn't care. For 30 glorious seconds, he flew the P-38 the way it was meant to be flown. Hard, fast, aggressive, like a weapon, not a training tool. Then he leveled off, set course for Sacramento, and didn't think about it again until two MPs met him on the ramp when he landed back at Hamilton Field. The disciplinary hearing took place the next morning. Cole stood at attention before a desk occupied by a major with a permanent scowl and a stack of civilian complaint forms. Witnesses had reported reckless flying, dangerous altitude, risk to public safety. Second Lieutenant Vaughn, you performed unauthorized aerobatic maneuvers over a populated area at unsafe altitude. You violated flight regulations. You endangered civilians. You brought discredit to this command. The major looked up from the paperwork. Do you have anything to say? Oh, I didn't know, sir. You understand the severity of these charges, arms? Yes, sir. Court-martial is a possibility. Dismissal from service is likely. Your flying career is probably over. The major leaned back. Any last words before I make my recommendation? Cole met his gaze. The P-38 can do things most pilots never attempt. If we're going to fight in them, we need to know their limits. You can't learn limits flying straight and level. That's your defense. Recklessness disguises research. No, sir, just recklessness. But if given a second chance, I'd use what I learned to develop better training protocols. Teach other pilots how to handle the aircraft at the edge of its envelope. The Japanese won't fight us straight and level. We need to know what these machines can do when it matters. The major started to respond, then stopped. Looked past Cole toward the door. Cole turned. A general stood in the doorway. Brigadier General Theodore Holland, Theater Air Commander, 3 stars, combat ribbons dating back to 1918. Leave us, Holland said. The major gathered his papers and exited quickly. Holland closed the door, walked to the window, stared out at the flight line where a row of P-38s sat gleaming in the California sun. I read the witness statements, Holland said. You flew under the Golden Gate Bridge at 350 miles per hour, pulled 4Gs in the recovery, rolled inverted over civilian traffic. Yes, sir. Stupid, dangerous, insubordinate. Yes, sir. Holland turned from the window. I also read your training scores. 97th percentile in gunnery, 99th in deflection shooting, perfect scores on aircraft systems. Your instructors say you have instincts they can't teach. He paused. I've been flying fighters for 24 years, Lieutenant. I've seen thousands of pilots. Most are adequate. Some are good. A handful are exceptional. Cole remained at attention. You're either going to be my biggest problem or my best pilot. I haven't decided which. Holland moved to the desk, picked up the disciplinary report. I'm assigning you to advanced gunnery school. 6 weeks. You'll develop the training protocols you mentioned. If they're any good, we'll implement them. If they're garbage, you're grounded permanently. He dropped the report in the trash can. One chance, Lieutenant. Don't waste it. I won't, sir. Dismissed. Cole saluted, turned, walked to the door. Vaughn, he stopped. The Pacific Theater needs killers, but it needs smart killers. Learn to be both. Yes, sir. Cole kept his promise. For 6 weeks, he worked 16-hour days developing gunnery exercises, deflection drills, energy management scenarios. He proved his techniques worked by consistently outscoring every other pilot at the school. By December 1942, he was on a transport ship heading west across the Pacific. Destination Port Moresby, New Guinea. Assignment 9th Fighter Squadron, 49th Fighter Group, 5th Air Force. General Holland had given him his second chance. Now Cole had to prove it wasn't a mistake. Combat Reality, Port Moresby, New Guinea, December 1942. The heat hit like a physical force. Humidity thick enough to drink. The air smelled of jungle rot and aviation fuel and unwashed men living in tents. Cole stepped off the transport onto a crushed coral runway. 40 other replacement pilots followed, blinking in the harsh tropical sun, trying not to look as nervous as they felt. A captain waited near a shot-up jeep. Tall, lean, eyes that had seen too much. 3 rows of ribbons on his sweat-stained uniform shirt. "I'm Captain Vernon Prescott, Squadron Operations Officer. Welcome to the garden spot of the Southwest Pacific." He gestured toward the jungle. "That's where the enemy lives. They've been fighting since 1937. You've been flying for maybe a year. The math isn't in your favor." He pointed to the flight line where a dozen P-38s sat under camouflage netting. "Those are your aircraft. Some have holes in them. We patch the holes and fly them again. Parts are scarce. Mechanics work miracles. Don't waste their effort by getting shot down doing something stupid." Prescott pulled out a clipboard, started reading names and assignments. Cole half listened, studying the aircraft. The P-38s looked worn, paint faded, metal patched, but the engines looked maintained, the propellers sharp. These machines were being cared for despite the conditions. "Vaughn," Cole snapped to attention. "Sir, you're the one Holland sent. The hotshot who buzzed San Francisco." "Yes, sir. General sent a message with your transfer orders. Said you're either going to revolutionize gunnery training or kill yourself trying." Prescott looked up from the clipboard. "Which one is it going to be, Itchy?" "The first one, sir." "Good. Report to Sergeant Grimm. He's the crew chief, runs the maintenance operation. You'll be flying as Bird." Prescott handed Cole a canteen. "Drink water, lots of it. The heat kills more pilots than the Japanese some weeks. Dismissed." Cole found Sergeant Walter Grimm under the wing of a P-38 marked with the number 37. The sergeant was maybe 45, graying hair, hands scarred from years of working metal. He was installing a replacement hydraulic pump with the focused intensity of a surgeon. "Sergeant Grimm?" The sergeant didn't look up. "You the new pilot?" "Yes, Sergeant." "Know anything about engines?" "Fix tractors back home." "Tractors." Grimm set down his wrench, finally looking at Cole. "This is a Lockheed P-38J Lightning, twin Allison 5, 1710 engines, 1,475 horsepower each, turbo supercharged, counter-rotating props, hydraulic boost ailerons, compressibility problems in high-speed dives, temperamental fuel system, electrical gremlins." He wiped his hands on a rag. "Oh, it's not a tractor, Lieutenant." "No, Sergeant. But if you respect it, maintain it, and learn its quirks, it'll bring you home." Grimm gestured to the nose. 450s, 120, Mike, all nose-mounted, best gun platform in the theater, no convergence issues. You point it, you hit it, assuming you can shoot. "I can shoot? We'll see." Grimm pulled a checklist from his pocket. "Pre-flight inspection takes 15 minutes minimum. I see you skip steps, we're going to have problems. This bird keeps you alive. You keep her maintained. Deal." "Deal." "Good. First mission's tomorrow, dawn patrol. Get some rest." Cole found his tent, a canvas structure with 4 cots, 3 already occupied by sleeping pilots. He claimed the empty cot lay down, tried to ignore the heat. Sleep didn't come easy. In 12 hours, he'd be flying combat. Real combat. Against experienced Japanese pilots who'd been killing Americans since Pearl Harbor. He thought about Maggie's handkerchief tucked in his flight suit pocket, about General Holland's words, about the P-38 waiting on the flight line, about whether tomorrow he'd prove himself a killer or become a statistic. Dawn came too soon. The briefing room was crowded with pilots drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. Maps covered the walls, enemy positions marked in red, friendly forces in blue. The combat zone looked vast and complicated. Captain Prescott stood at the front. "Gentlemen, intelligence reports Japanese bombers inbound to Buna, probably Mitsubishi Betty bombers with 0 escort. We're scrambling 12 birds to intercept." He pointed to the map. "We'll climb to 20,000, position ourselves between the bombers and target. Standard tactics. Hit the bombers, avoid turning fights with the Zeros." Questions? No one spoke. "Let's go." The pilots filed out to the flight line. Cole found his P-38 where Sergeant Grimm was making final checks. Fuel's topped off. Guns are loaded. Hydraulics check good. Grimm handed Cole his parachute. Bring her back in one piece. I'll try. Don't try, do it. Cole strapped in, ran through the checklist. Both engines started smoothly settling into that distinctive P-38 rumble. He taxied into position, watching the lead aircraft for the takeoff signal. Green flare, throttles forward. The Lightning accelerated down the coral runway. At 120, Cole rotated. The gear came up. He joined the formation, climbing through morning clouds toward combat. At 19,000 feet, they leveled off. The sky stretched empty and blue. Cole scanned constantly, looking for dark specks that meant enemy aircraft, looking for the geometry of death. Bandits 2 o'clock high. Cole looked, saw them, maybe 15 aircraft. Bombers in formation, smaller shapes weaving above them. Zeros, flying top cover. His heart hammered. This was it, his first real engagement. The formation leader's voice crackled over the radio. Okay, boys, let's go to work. The P-38AS dove, building speed, using altitude to gain energy advantage. Cole followed his element leader, watching the range close. 2,000 yards, 1,500, 1,000. Pick your targets, fire when ready. Cole selected a bomber, lined up the gun sight, started calculating deflection. The bomber was moving left to right. Speed maybe 200, range 800 yards. He needed to lead by. A zero flashed across his nose. Cole flinched, lost his aim point. The bomber slid out of his sight picture. He corrected, reacquired. But now the range was different. The angle had changed. He recalculated, adjusted, fired. The nose-mounted guns roared. Tracers arced out, all of them passing behind the bomber. Complete miss. Cole held the trigger down, swept the guns across the formation. Ammunition counter, spinning down. 500 rounds, 400, 300, not a single hit. The formation broke apart. Chaos. P-38s and Zeros tangling. Bombers scattering. Radio chatter overlapping until it became meaningless noise. Cole pulled up, climbed, tried to reposition. But everywhere he looked, the sky was full of aircraft moving in 3 dimensions, and he couldn't process it fast enough to get a clean shot. A Zero came head-on. Cole fired, missed. The Zero flashed past so close he could see the pilot's face. More firing, more missing. The ammunition counter hit 0. Cole's guns were empty. He'd fired 600 rounds and hadn't hit anything. Break left, break left. The voice was frantic. Cole looked right, saw a Zero on his tail. Tracers streaming past his canopy. He broke left, hard. The P-38 responding instantly. The Zero followed but couldn't match the turn radius at this speed. Cole extended, built separation, climbed back into friendly airspace. The engagement ended as quickly as it started. The Japanese bombers turned back. The Zeros disengaged. The P-38s reformed 3 aircraft missing from the formation. Cole joined up, silent, shamed. Back at base, he helped count the damage. 2 P-38s shot down, pilots missing. 1 B-24 bomber destroyed on the ground at Buna despite the attempted intercept. The squadron claimed 3 enemy aircraft destroyed. Cole wasn't among the pilots who got kills. That night, Captain Prescott found him sitting alone behind his tent. First combat's always rough. Cole didn't respond. You freeze up. Burned through all my ammo, didn't hit anything. Most pilots don't their first time. That B-24 at Buna, 10 crew, they died because we didn't stop the bombers. I should have stopped them. I had chances. I wasted ammunition on wild shots. Prescott sat down on an ammo crate. You know why you missed bad shooting. No, bad fundamentals. You know the theory of deflection shooting. You aced all the classroom tests, but theory and reality are different things. He lit a cigarette. Targets on the practice range don't shoot back. They don't maneuver. They don't make you scared. Real combat. Everything you know goes out the window unless you've trained it so deep it becomes automatic. So what do? Study. The squadron keeps gun camera footage. Watch the pilots who got kills today. See what they did different. Then practice. There's a gunnery range on the other side of the field. Grim can set up towed targets. You spend every spare hour shooting until you can hit with your eyes closed. Cole looked up. You think I can learn? Holland thinks so. That's good enough for me. Prescott stood. But you better figure it out fast, Lieutenant. Next week, we're escorting bombers to Leh. If you can't shoot, you're just ballast-burning fuel we can't spare. After Prescott left, Cole walked to the operations tent, found the gun camera footage, borrowed a projector. He spent the entire night watching, frame by frame, studying the pilots who'd scored kills, analyzing their approach angles, their deflection leads, their burst discipline. By dawn, he'd filled a notebook with observations, and he had a plan. The method. The plan required help. Cole found on Sergeant Grimm the next morning before the heat became unbearable. I need a favor. Grimm looked up from an engine he was rebuilding. What kind of favor? I need to modify the gun sight, add reference marks to the windscreen. Custom aiming points. You want me to mark up a government-issue canopy? Yes, Sergeant. Why? Cole explained what he'd learned from the gun camera footage. Most pilots aimed instinctively. They pointed the nose roughly at the target and hoped their natural feel for deflection was accurate. Sometimes it worked. Usually it didn't. But Cole had noticed something. The best shooters weren't guessing. They were using consistent reference points. The edge of the windscreen frame, the gun sight ring diameter, the position of the target relative to fixed visual landmarks in the cockpit. They developed a system, probably unconsciously. Their brains had learned to correlate specific visual pictures with specific deflection angles. Cole wanted to formalize that system, add grease pencil marks to the canopy at calculated positions, create aiming references for different deflection angles at different ranges. It's like adjusting sights on a rifle, Cole said. You zero it at one range, then learn the holdover for other distances. Same principle, different application. Grimm considered. You run this by Captain Prescott. Not yet. Probably should. If I ask permission, he'll say no. But if I prove it works first, he might authorize it fleet-wide. Grimm almost smiled. You got a set on you, Lieutenant. Okay, I'll help. But you screw up my bird, you're fixing it yourself. Deal. They spent the afternoon working out the mathematics. Cole calculated deflection angles for various target speeds and crossing angles. Grimm translated those angles into physical positions on the canopy glass based on the pilot's eye position in the cockpit. By evening, they had a system, 6 reference marks on the left canopy panel, 6 on the right, each one corresponding to a specific lead angle for a specific engagement geometry. Grimm used a grease pencil to make the marks, small dots, barely visible unless you knew what to look for. There, Grimm said, your custom gun sight. Now prove it wasn't a waste of my time. The gunnery range was a cleared stretch of beach on the coast. A tugboat towed fabric sleeves as targets. Pilots took turns making firing passes. Cole flew 6 sorties in 3 days. Shot until his ammunition was exhausted, landed rearmed, went back up. The first day he missed more than he hit. The reference marks helped, but he was still learning to trust them. The second day, his hit percentage improved. 40% of his rounds found the sleeve. Better than average. Not good enough. The third day, something clicked. He stopped thinking about the mathematics, stopped consciously calculating deflection. His brain started recognizing patterns, target position relative to reference mark, trigger press, hit. It became automatic, natural, like fixing the tractor engine. See the problem, know the solution, execute. By the end of the day, he was hitting 70%, the best scores Grimm had seen from any pilot in the squadron. Okay, Grimm admitted. Maybe you're onto something. Cole requested another combat mission. Prescott assigned him to a bomber escort run to Leh, February 18, 1943. Same drill, pre-dawn briefing, climb to altitude, rendezvous with the bombers. This time felt different. Cole felt calm, focused, ready. The Japanese interceptors came up right on schedule, 6 Zeros climbing from below. Cole positioned himself above and behind the rear bomber, waiting, patient. A 0 dove on the bomber from the sun, perfect deflection shot, 90-degree crossing angle, range 700 yards. Cole didn't think, didn't calculate, Just align the zero with the appropriate reference mark. Smooth pressure on the trigger. 2-second burst. The Zero's engine cowling disintegrated. Smoke poured from the firewall. The fighter rolled inverted and dove trailing flames. Cole's first kill. No celebration, no excitement, just immediate assessment and repositioning. Maintain altitude. Preserve energy. Scan for threats. Another zero. Head-on pass. Different geometry. Different reference mark. 1.8-second burst. The Zero's canopy shattered. The aircraft snap-rolled and fell away. By the time the engagement ended, Cole had expended 220 rounds, scored 2 confirmed kills. The bombers completed their mission without loss. Back at base, Sergeant Grimm met him on the ramp. I heard. 2 kills. First combat mission with the new system. It works. Damn right it works. Grimm grinned. You gonna share this with the other pilots? If they want to learn. Word spread fast. By evening, 5 pilots had asked Cole to mark their canopies. Within a week, half the squadron was using the reference mark system. Squadron kill rates increased. Ammunition expenditure per kill decreased. Captain Prescott noticed. Whatever you're doing, Vaughn, keep doing it. And write it up. General Holland wants a report. Cole spent 3 nights documenting the technique. Drawings, mathematics, results. He titled it, Visual Reference System for Improved Deflection Accuracy. Holland's response came back 2 weeks later. Approved for squadron-wide implementation. Well done, Lieutenant. You're proving to be the right kind of killer. By July 1943, Cole had 7 confirmed victories. By August 10, each kill following the same pattern. Patient positioning, precise deflection, brief accurate bursts. The other pilots started calling him the mechanic. Not because he fixed engines, because he approached combat like mechanical work. Methodical, systematic, no wasted motion, no wasted ammunition. Sergeant Grimm painted a name on Cole's P-38 nose in white letters. Maggie's Wrath. Figured you'd want your girl's name on your bird, Grimm explained. Every ace needs nose art. Cole traced the letters with his finger. Thought about Maggie back in Wisconsin, about her handkerchief still in his pocket, about the promise he'd made. Thanks, Sergeant. Don't thank me. Just keep bringing her back in one piece. Cole intended to, but the war was escalating. The Japanese were bringing in reinforcements. Better pilots, newer aircraft. The easy victories were over. The real test was coming. Early mastery, August 1943. The morning sun burned through jungle haze as Cole climbed through 15,000 feet. Below the coastline of New Guinea stretched like a green scar against blue ocean. Victory number 8 came over Wewak, a formation of Japanese bombers, Betty medium bombers, twin-engine aircraft carrying death to Allied positions. Cole positioned himself with the sun at his back. Altitude advantage, speed in reserve, every tactical principle drilled into muscle memory. The lead bomber filled his windscreen, range 900 yards, deflection angle 12 degrees. The reference mark on his canopy aligned perfectly with the bomber's nose. 1.9-second burst. The Betty's right engine erupted in flame. The bomber pitched down trailing smoke. Cole didn't watch it fall. Already scanning for the next threat. Maintain situational awareness. Never fixate on a single target. Victory 9 followed 3 minutes later. Same engagement. Different bomber. Same result. September brought kills 10 and 11. Both overlay, both zeros that made the mistake of turning predictably. October victories 12 and 13. Key 43 Oscars. Lightweight fighters flown by pilots still learning their trade. The Japanese were running out of experienced airmen. The replacements died quickly. Cole felt no satisfaction in killing novices. But he didn't hesitate either. War didn't reward mercy. It punished hesitation. By November, his kill count stood at 15. The squadron intelligence officer showed him a captured Japanese combat report, translated from characters Cole couldn't read. Listen to this, the intelligence officer said. Quote, American twin boom fighter marked with white characters exercises exceptional fire discipline. Engagement should be avoided when possible. Pilot demonstrates advanced tactical awareness. End quote. They're tracking me. They're tracking anyone who kills enough of them to matter. Congratulations, Lieutenant. You're officially a threat worth noting. That same week, Cole encountered Commander Takeshi Saito. The Japanese ace had 18 confirmed victories, a veteran of China and the Philippines, one of the most skilled pilots still alive in the theater. They met over Finschhafen, November 9th. High-altitude combat. Saito flew a Zero with distinctive red lightning bolts painted on the fuselage. He fought with a precision Cole recognized immediately. This wasn't a novice. This was someone who understood deflection shooting, energy management, all the lessons Cole had learned through study and practice. The engagement lasted 4 minutes. Both pilots maneuvering for advantage, neither making the fatal mistake that would give the other a clean shot. Cole gained that position first. Saito's Zero filled the gun sight, ranged 600 yards. Perfect deflection. Cole fired. Saito broke hard. The burst passed inches behind his tail. He reversed, climbed, tried to gain altitude advantage. But the P-38 had better climb performance. Cole stayed with him, positioned above and behind, waited for Saito to run out of altitude and options. At 23,000 feet, Saito's Zero reached its service ceiling. The engine lost power in the thin air. The fighter wallowed, slow, vulnerable. Cole dove, built speed, came in from above and behind. The geometry was perfect. 1.6-second burst, 78 rounds. Saito's Zero disintegrated. Pieces of wing and fuselage tumbling through empty sky. Cole watched for a parachute, saw none. Saito had gone down with his aircraft. Victory number 16. Cole felt nothing, just empty calculation. 16 men dead by his hand. 16 pilots who'd trained and fought and died because they'd met someone marginally more skilled on a particular day. That night, he wrote to Maggie. The letter took 3 attempts before he found words that felt honest. The fighting continues. I'm doing my duty. The methods we developed are working. Other pilots are using them. Lives are being saved on our side. But Maggie, sometimes I wonder about the politic, not to us, to them. They have families too. Mothers who will receive telegrams. Sweethearts who will wait for men who will never come home. I don't regret what I'm doing. The cause is just. The war must be won. But I want you to know I haven't forgotten these are men I'm killing. Not targets, not statistics. Men. I miss you, I miss home, I miss the person I was before all this. He never sent the letter. Burned it instead. Some truths were too heavy to share. The mathematics of killing. To understand why Colton Vaughn reached 40 victories when most pilots barely reached 5, you need to understand deflection shooting. The mathematics that separated the living from the dead. Most people think aerial combat is about courage, aggression, instinct. They're wrong. It's about mathematics, pure, cold, unforgiving. Consider the problem. A fighter aircraft traveling at 250 miles per hour. That's 367 feet per second. Your target, you're closing from the side, 90-degree angle. Your bullets travel at approximately 2,700 feet per second. At 1,000 yards distance, your bullets need 0.55 seconds to reach the target. In that half second, the target moves 202 feet. You must aim not at where the target is, but where it will be when your bullets arrive. This is deflection shooting. The calculation involves velocity vectors, your speed, his speed, the angle between your flight paths, the range, the bullet time of flight. Most pilots couldn't do these calculations consciously. Not while pulling Gs, not while being shot at, not while fighting tunnel vision and fear and the overwhelming sensory chaos of combat. So they aimed instinctively, guessed at the deflection, pulled the trigger, and hoped. Their hit rate averaged 15%. 85% of their ammunition missed. In a typical engagement, an average pilot fired 400 rounds to score a single kill. Many pilots burned through all their ammunition without hitting anything. Cole's approach was different. He didn't calculate consciously. He trained the calculations into automatic response, visual pattern recognition. See the target at a specific position relative to his reference marks. Know the deflection? Fire. His hit rate averaged 45%. Gun camera analysis proved it. Frame-by-frame examination of his footage showed consistent patterns. Minimal ammunition expenditure, maximum effect. Consider a real example. October 1943, engagement over Alexishafen. Target Mitsubishi Zero, speed 290 miles per hour, 90-degree crossing angle, Range 800 yards. The mathematics bullet flight time 0.49 seconds. Target displacement 197 feet. Required deflection lead 4.7 degrees. Cole's reference mark system gave him that angle automatically. No conscious calculation, just visual alignment. He fired. 1.8-second burst. 63 rounds expended. 21 hits. The Zero's engine cowling shredded. Coolant lines severed. The pilot bailed out. Confirmed kill. Total ammunition used 63 rounds. Average pilot 400 rounds, if they hit at all. Over 40 kills, Cole averaged 78 rounds per victory. Total ammunition saved approximately 12,800 rounds. That's 13 additional full combat missions worth of ammunition. 13 more opportunities to protect bombers, defend positions, support ground troops. Precision wasn't just a skill, it was a force multiplier. It was the difference between consuming resources and maximizing them. The mathematics weren't just favorable, they were devastating. Now apply this across an entire squadron. Cole taught his method to 24 other pilots. Their collective hit rates improved from 15% to 32%. Not as good as Cole's 45%, but dramatically better than before. Squadron kill-to-loss ratio improved from 2-to-1 to 6-to-1. Bomber losses on escort missions dropped 47%. The mathematics cascaded. Better gunnery meant more enemy fighters destroyed. More fighters destroyed meant safer bomber missions. Safer bomber missions meant more strategic targets eliminated. More targets eliminated meant shorter war. Numbers upon numbers. Each one representing lives saved on the Allied side, lives taken on the Japanese side. Cole understood this intellectually, accepted it as necessary, but late at night alone in his tent, he still counted. 16, 17, 18, 19, each number a man who'd learned to fly, who dreamed of glory, who died in fire and smoke 3,000 miles from home. The mathematics of war were absolute. The weight was something else entirely. The innovation spreads November 1943. 21 confirmed victories. Cole had surpassed every other active pilot in the 5th Air Force. Only a handful of pilots in the entire theater had higher scores. He was approaching legendary status. The farm boy from Wisconsin who'd revolutionized aerial gunnery. General Holland sent a staff car. Cole rode 3 hours over jungle roads to headquarters. Holland's office was sparse. Maps on the walls. Combat reports stacked on a battered desk. The general looked older than Cole remembered. War aged everyone. "Sit down, Lieutenant." Cole sat. Holland pushed a folder across the desk. "That's your combat record. 21 victories. 207 sorties. 0 aircraft lost to enemy action. 0 friendly fire incidents. Ammunition efficiency 3 times squadron average." He paused. "You've proven something important. Technique beats aggression. Discipline beats instinct. Mathematics beats courage." "Thank you, sir." "Don't thank me yet. Army Air Force wants to study your methods. They're sending a gunnery instructor from the States, colonel named Morrison. He'll observe your techniques, document them, incorporate them into the training pipeline." Holland leaned back. "You're going home for 3 weeks. You'll work with Morrison, explain your system. Then you'll do a brief stateside tour. Let the folks back home see what their war bonnas are buying." "Sir, I'd rather stay with my squadron." "I know, but this is bigger than one squadron. If we can train every fighter pilot to shoot like you shoot, we shorten the war, save thousands of lives. You want to contribute, this is how." Cole spent 2 weeks working with Colonel Morrison, explaining the visual reference system, the mathematics, the training regimen. Morrison took notes, asked detailed questions, had Cole demonstrate against towed targets. At the end of 2 weeks, Morrison shook his hand. "This will be standard curriculum by next year. Every fighter pilot in the pipeline will learn the Vaughn method. You've changed how America fights, son." The stateside tour was brief. 3 cities, Chicago, New York, Washington, speeches to war bond rallies, photographs with politicians, newsreel cameras, and radio interviews. Cole hated every minute. He wasn't a hero. He was a mechanic who'd figured out how to aim better. The real heroes were the bomber crews flying into flak, the infantry taking beaches, the sailors on burning ships. But he smiled for the cameras, shook hands, said what they needed to hear. On the last day, he took a train to Wisconsin. The farm looked smaller than he remembered. The fields harvested, winter coming on. His father stood on the porch, older now, grayer. "You look different," his father said. "War does that. Your mother's inside. She'll want to feed you." Cole spent 3 days home, helped with chores, fixed the tractor again. It needed new valve springs, tried to pretend nothing had changed, but everything had changed. On the third day, he walked to the Ashford farm. Maggie was in the kitchen. She turned when he entered, saw him, dropped the dish she'd been drying. They stood 5 feet apart. The distance felt infinite. "You're really here," she said, "for 2 more days. Then you go back." "I have to." She crossed the distance, took his hands, studied his face like she was memorizing it. "I read the newspapers. They say you're an ace, a hero, 21 victories. I'm just trying to do my job. You look tired." "I am tired." She led him to the porch swing. They sat. Cole pulled out a small object from his pocket, a ring made from melted aluminum, salvaged from a downed Zero. He'd worked on it for weeks, filed and polished until it shone. "It's not much," he said. Maggie took the ring, turned it over, saw the inscription inside. "MACV 1943. It's perfect. Will you marry me after the war, when I come home for real?" "I already said yes 2 years ago. The answer hasn't changed." She put on the ring. It fit perfectly. They sat in silence, watching the sun set over fields they'd known their entire lives, holding hands, making promises they both hoped Cole would live to keep. Breaking the record. March 1944. Cole returned to New Guinea. The war had intensified. The Japanese were pulling back but fighting harder. Kamikaze tactics had begun. Desperation replacing strategy. Cole's P-38 had been upgraded during his absence. The new J model, more power, better hydraulics, improved high-altitude performance. Sergeant Grimm had kept it maintained, kept the nose art fresh. Maggie's wrath gleamed white against olive drab paint. "Missed you, Lieutenant," Grimm said. "Missed the war. Missed having a pilot who brings my bird back undamaged." Kills 22 through 26 came quickly, April through May. The Japanese were throwing inexperienced pilots into combat. They died fast. Cole took no pleasure in it, just logged the victories, moved on. June 15, 1944. The mission brief was routine. Bomber escort to Hollandia. Expected enemy resistance moderate. Cole led a flight of 4 P-38s. Captain Prescott flew his wing. 2 lieutenants covered high. At 22,000 feet, they made contact. 8 Zeros climbing to intercept. The engagement developed quickly. Cole positioned his flight between the Zeros and the bombers. Standard defensive posture. The lead Zero dove on a B-24. Cole intercepted, range 700 yards. Clean deflection shot, 1.7-second burst. The Zero exploded. Massive fireball. The pilot never had a chance. Victory number 27. Eddie Rickenbacker's World War I record, 26 confirmed victories. Cole had just broken it. He was now the highest-scoring American fighter ace in history. Over the radio, Prescott's voice, "Congratulations, Cole. You just made history." Cole didn't respond. He was already repositioning, looking for the next threat. The engagement wasn't over. Celebration could wait. But when he landed, the squadron was waiting. Mechanics, pilots, ground crew. Someone had painted a small American flag on his P-38's nose. Number 27 marked below it. General Holland flew in that afternoon. Photographers came with him, more newsreels, more publicity. That night, Holland pulled Cole aside. "I'm restricting your combat missions." "Sir Stone, you're too valuable. 27 victories, the training methods you developed. You're worth more as a symbol and an instructor than as a line pilot." MacArthur's orders. "You'll fly only high-priority missions, carefully selected, minimal risk." That's not fair to the other pilots. "Fair doesn't matter. Winning matters. You've done enough. Let someone else take the risks for a while." Cole started to argue, stopped, saw the calculation in Holland's eyes. This wasn't a request. It was an order from men far above Holland's rank. Politicians, strategists, people who saw coal as as an asset to manage, not a pilot to deploy. Yes, sir. That night, Cole sat in his tent, wrote another letter to Maggie. 27 confirmed victories. They tell me it's a record, that I should be proud, that I've served with distinction. But Maggie, all I can think about is the number. 27 men, 27 families receiving news, 27 mothers crying. I see their faces sometimes, young faces, determined faces, scared faces. I'm good at killing, better than most. The mathematics prove it. But being good at something doesn't make it right. It just makes it efficient. I want to come home. I want to marry you. I want to go back to fixing tractors and plowing fields and living a life where the most important decision is when to plant corn. But the war isn't over. And until it is, I'll keep doing what I'm good at. Because if I don't, someone less efficient will try. And that means more American boys dying while Japanese pilots, who should be dead, keep fighting. I'm tired, Maggie. So tired, but I'm not done yet. This letter he sent. Her response came 3 weeks later. One sentence. Come home to me when you can. I'll be waiting. Cole folded the letter, put it with the handkerchief, kept both in his flight suit pocket, flew his next mission. And his next, and his next. The count continued. 28, 29, 30. Each number a weight, each weight a kanta, each cost accepted because there was no other choice. October arrived, the war ground forward, island by island, life by life, victory by victory. And somewhere ahead, waiting in the mathematics of combat, victory number 40, the number that would cement the record, the number that would end Cole's war, the number that was closer than anyone knew, the Brunei mission. October 18th, 1944. The briefing room was crowded, sweat-stained pilots drinking coffee that tasted like diesel fuel. Captain Prescott stood at the map pointer in hand. Gentlemen, Brunei oil facilities. The Japanese are refining aviation fuel there. High-value target. Intelligence expects heavy resistance. 40-plus enemy fighters defending. The pointer moved across the map. We're escorting 18 B-24s, 6 P-38s for close escort, that's us. 4 more flights providing top cover. Questions. A young lieutenant raised his hand. Expected losses. Moderate to heavy. The Japanese are desperate. They'll throw everything at us. Prescott paused. But this target matters. We cut their fuel supply. We ground their air force. Worth the risk. Cole studied the map. Brunei was 240 miles. Long flight over water. No emergency landing options. If you went down, you went into the ocean or enemy-held jungle. After the briefing, Sergeant Grimm found him on the flight line. Lieutenant, need to tell you something. Cole looked up from his pre-flight inspection. Grimm's face was tight, controlled. My son, Robert, he transferred in last week. Ball turret gunner, B-24 crew. Cole understood immediately. Which aircraft? Lead bomber, first in formation. The most dangerous position, first target for enemy fighters. Grimm's son would be hanging in a plexiglass bubble under the belly, surrounded by ocean and sky and incoming bullets, with nowhere to hide. I'll keep them safe, Sergeant. I know you will. Just, Grimm's voice cracked slightly. He's 19, same age you were when you started. Good kid, wants to be a mechanic after the war. Learned the trade from his old man. Cole put his hand on Grimm's shoulder. I'll bring him home. Bring yourself home too, Lieutenant. Maggie's waiting on you. At 0600, the engines started. 18 B-24s, 10 P-38s, 230 men betting their lives on training tactics and mathematics. Cole led the close escort flight. Prescott on his wing. 2 lieutenants named Harrison and Chen flying high cover. They climbed through morning clouds, leveled at 27,000 feet. The bombers formed up below at 22,000. Tight formation. Professional. Cole keyed his radio. Lead bomber, this is Lightning Lead. We've got you covered. Copy, Lightning Lead. Appreciate the escort. The voice sounded young, probably Grimm's son on the intercom. 19 years old, ball turret gunner, first major combat mission. Cole checked his fuel, ammunition count, engine instruments, everything nominal. Maggie's handkerchief in his pocket, the aluminum ring on a chain around his neck. Small weights, heavy meaning, 2 hours to target. The Japanese came up at 08:15. Bandits, 3 o'clock low, climbing. Cole counted them. 12 Key 61 Tonys, 8 A6M0s, 20 fighters total, more than intelligence predicted. Harrison Chen, take the high group. Prescott, stay on my wing. We protect the bombers. Nothing gets through. Copy. The enemy fighters split into 2 groups. 16 went for the bombers. 4 climbed toward the top cover. Cole positioned his flight between the attackers and the B-24s. Standard defensive barrier. Let them come to us. Fight on our terms. The first Tony dove at the lead bomber. Grimm's son's aircraft. Cole intercepted. Range 900 yards. Deflection angle 8 degrees. Reference mark alignment perfect. 1.6-second burst. The Tony's cockpit disintegrated. The fighter tumbled sideways, trailing debris. No parachute. Victory number 35. Cole didn't pause. Already scanning. Looking for the next threat. A 0 came from the left. Head-on approach. Aggressive pilot. Experienced. Cole held course. Waited until range dropped to 500 yards. Fired. The 0 broke off. Smoking but still flying. Damaged, not destroyed. Lightning 3 is hit. Cole looked. Saw Lieutenant Harrison's P-38 trailing smoke from the right engine. Harrison fighting for control. I'm bailing out. The canopy blew off. Harrison's parachute blossomed white against blue sky. But he was 20 miles from the coast. Enemy territory below. And 3 Zeros were diving toward him. They'd strafe the parachute. Standard Japanese tactic. Kill the pilot before he could be rescued. Cole made his decision in half a second. Prescott, take the lead. Protect the bombers. Cole, what are you? Cole dove. Full throttle. The P-38 accelerated past 400 miles per hour. G-forces pressed him into the seat. Vision narrowed. Focused only on Harrison's descending parachute and the 3 Zeros converging on it. Range drop and 20 miles. 1,000 yards. 800. 600. The lead 0 opened fire on Harrison. Tracers streaming toward the defenseless pilot. Cole fired, long burst. 120 rounds. Poorly aimed but effective. The 0 pulled off, evaded. Cole positioned himself between Harrison and the attackers, circling the parachute, protective orbit, daring them to come through him. 2 Zeros accepted the challenge. They came in from opposite sides. Coordinated attack, smart tactics. Cole picked the closer one. Range 400 yards. Minimal deflection. Perfect setup. 1.4-second burst. The Zero's engine exploded. The aircraft pitched down. Pilot bailed out. Victory number 36. But the second 0 was on Cole's tail now. Tracers passing, close. Too close. Cole broke hard left, maximum performance turn. The P-38 groaning under the stress. Airspeed bleeding off. The 0 couldn't match the turn radius. Overshot. Cole reversed, got position, fired, missed. The 0 dove. Cole pursued but lost him in cloud layer. When he climbed back to altitude, the main engagement was ongoing, and Grimm's son's B-24 was in trouble. 3 Zeros had broken through. They were making coordinated attacks on the lead bomber. Grimm's son hanging in the ball turret, guns blazing, unable to maneuver, completely exposed. Cole was 5 miles away. Too far. He pushed the throttles to emergency power. The engine screamed, turbos whining, manifold pressure redlined, 430 miles per hour. Faster than he'd ever flown the Lightning in level flight. The distance closed, 4 miles, 3 miles, 2. Over the radio, he heard the B-24 pilot, "We're hit, right inboard engine fire, we're losing altitude." Cole watched smoke pour from the bomber. Saw it begin a shallow descent. Saw the Zeros circling, sharks around wounded prey. 1 mile. The Zeros lined up for another attack. Head-on approach. They'd fly straight down the bomber's nose, rip through the cockpit, kill the pilots, send Grimm's son and 9 other boys into the ocean. Cole came in perpendicular, 90-degree angle to their attack vector, impossible deflection shot, range 600 yards and closing at combined speed of 800 miles per hour. He didn't use his reference marks. No time for precision. Just pointed the nose where instinct said and fired. 2.3-second burst. Every gun, everything he had, 97 rounds, pure desperation. The lead Zero flew directly into the stream of bullets. The entire left wing separated from the fuselage. The fighter cartwheeled out of control. Victory number 37. The other two Zeros broke off. The attack run aborted. Cole flew alongside the damaged B-24. Saw faces through the waist gun windows. Young faces. Scared faces. Alive faces. Lightning lead, this is Buster 1. Thanks for the save. We're heading home. One engine out, but we'll make it. Copy Buster 1. Good luck. Cole climbed back to the formation. The engagement was ending. The Japanese were withdrawing. The bombers were continuing to target. Total American losses, 138 damaged pilots safe in parachute and later rescued. One B-24 damaged but flyable. Japanese losses, 17 confirmed destroyed, 4 probable. The oil facilities would burn for 3 days. The cost, back at base, Sergeant Grimm met Cole on the ramp before the propeller stopped spinning. The sergeant's hands were shaking. His eyes red. My boy. Radio said his bomber took hits. Is he? He's fine, landing in 10 minutes. Engine damage, but everyone aboard is safe. Grimm's knees buckled. Cole caught him, helped him sit on an oil drum. I heard the radio traffic, Grimm said. Heard you break formation. Go after them. 3 against 1. Had to protect the mission. You protected my son. You could have stayed with your flight, followed orders, let someone else take the risk. But you didn't. You... Grimm's voice broke. Tears streamed down weathered cheeks. He's 19 years old, my only boy. His mother's back home waiting, praying. You brought him home. You brought my boy home. Cole didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. Just sat with Grimm until the damaged B-24 landed. Watched a young ball turret gunner climb out. Watched father and son embrace on the tarmac. Watched Sergeant Grimm hold his boy and sob. That night, Cole added 2 marks to his victory tally, 36, 37. The numbers felt different now. Not abstract calculations, not statistics. Each one represented a choice. A moment where Cole had decided someone would die so someone else could live. Today he'd chosen Grimm's son over personal safety, Harrison over tactical advantage, the bomber crew over his own survival. The mathematics were becoming more than numbers. They were weights, and Cole was learning which weights he could carry, which ones would crush him. The final push. November brought victories 38 and 39, routine engagements, textbook deflection shooting, the war grinding forward with mechanical inevitability. December 10, 1944, over Luzon, the 40th victory came during a bomber escort mission. A lone Zero attempting a suicide run on a B-24. Cole intercepted, range 700 yards, standard deflection, 1.5-second burst. The Zero came apart. Pilot never bailed out. Victory number 40. The record was complete. It was the highest scoring American fighter ace in history. More than any pilot in World War I. More than any pilot in this war. A mark that would stand for 80 years. Cole felt nothing, just exhaustion, and relief that maybe now it could end. MacArthur's order came 3 days later, delivered by General Holland personally. You're grounded, effective immediately, no appeals, no arguments. 40 victories is enough. The High Command wants you alive for the victory parades. Sir, my squadron, we'll manage without you. You've trained half the pilots in the theater. Your methods are doctrine now. You've done your part, Lieutenant, more than your part. Holland handed him a folder. Orders assigning you stateside. Training command. You'll teach new pilots your techniques. Maybe save a few more lives without risking your own. Cole took the folder, saw the finality in Holland's eyes. His war was over. By the numbers, the statistics told one story. 40 confirmed victories. 200 combat missions flown. 0 aircraft lost to enemy action. 78 rounds average per kill compared to 420 for typical pilots. Hit rate 45% compared to squadron average of 15%. Ammunition saved over career 12,800 rounds. Enough for 13 additional combat missions. Estimated bomber crews saved by direct escort 40-plus aircraft. 400 men who went home because Cole's P-38 stood between them and Japanese fighters. Strategic impact of the Vaughn method. 5th Air Force kill rates improved 23% after implementation. Squadron loss rates decreased 31%. Ammunition consumption per kill dropped 42%. The mathematics were clear. Cole's contribution extended beyond his personal score. He'd changed how America fought the air war, but the enemy kept their own accounting. Captured Japanese intelligence documents declassified in 1951 revealed what the other side thought. Combat Intelligence Bulletin Number 447, dated November 1944. American P-38 identified by white markings, Maggie's Wrath, represents extreme threat. Pilot demonstrates exceptional fire discipline and tactical awareness. Engagement should be avoided when aircraft is present. If engagement unavoidable, utilize numerical superiority and coordinated attacks. A captured pilot interviewed in 1945 was more direct. We had a name for him, Ghost Hunter. He appeared from nowhere, fired once. We died. Our best pilots feared him. The numbers quantified, the testimonies validated. Together they painted a picture of a pilot who'd mastered his craft so completely that the enemy changed tactics to avoid him. But numbers couldn't measure everything. They couldn't measure the weight Cole carried, the faces he saw, the letters he didn't send, the prayers he'd stopped saying because he didn't know what to ask for anymore. Mathematics could calculate deflection angles. They couldn't calculate the cost of being good at killing. Peace and Promises, January 1945. The White House. President Roosevelt pinned the Medal of Honor on Cole's uniform. Photographers captured the moment. Newsreels broadcast it to theaters across America. Cole stood at attention, said, "Thank you, Mr. President." Thought about 40 men who'd never stand at attention again. After the ceremony, reporters asked questions. How does it feel to be America's top ace? I did my duty like thousands of others. What's next for you? I'm going home. February 14th, Wisconsin. The church was small, the same one where Cole had attended Sunday services as a child. Margaret Ashford walked down the aisle in a simple white dress, no elaborate ceremony, just family, friends, a minister who'd known them both since birth. Do you, Colton Vaughn, take this woman? I do. Do you, Margaret Ashford, take this man? I do. The ring was platinum this time, not melted aluminum. Cole had saved his pay, bought something proper, something that would last. They kissed. The small congregation applauded. Outside snow fell on Wisconsin fields. The honeymoon lasted 2 weeks. They stayed at the farm, walked through winter woods, sat by the fireplace, talked about the future. What will you do now, Maggie asked. They want me to teach, train new pilots, pass on what I learned. And after the war ends, when you're really done, come back here, fix tractors, plant crops, live quietly. Can you do that? After everything you've seen, everything you've done. Cole stared into the fire. I don't know, but I want to try. March brought the end of their peace. Lockheed Aircraft contacted Cole with an offer. Test pilot position, the P-80 Shooting Star, America's first operational jet fighter. It's not combat, Cole told Maggie. Just testing, engineering work, safe work. Maggie held his hand, saw the excitement in his eyes, the pull of flying, the need to be airborne. Promise me, no combat, no risks, just testing. I promise. They moved to Burbank, California. Cole reported to Lockheed's test facility, met the engineers, saw the P-80 for the first time. Sleek, fast, revolutionary, no propellers, just a jet engine producing 4,000 pounds of thrust, speeds exceeding 500 miles per hour. The future of aviation. Cole fell in love with it immediately. Sergeant Grimm sent a letter. Brief, direct, his way. Lieutenant, heard about the test pilot job. You take care now. Flying is in your blood, but so is coming home. Remember that? My boy asks about you. Says he's going to be a mechanic like his old man. Like you taught him hard work and precision matter more than flash. You changed lives, sir. Don't forget that. W. Grimm. Cole kept the letter. Read it sometimes when the nightmares came, when he woke up calculating deflection angles, when he saw faces in the dark. The P-80 testing went well. Cole made 12 successful flights. The jet performed beautifully. responsive, fast, a pilot's dream. August 6th approached. Cole didn't know it would be his last day. Nobody did. The last flight, August 6, 1945. Morning, Cole woke early. Maggie still asleep beside him, sunlight through curtains, California warmth, peace. He kissed her forehead. She stirred. Test flight today. Just routine, fuel system check. Be back by lunch. Be careful. Always. He dressed, flight suit, boots, Maggie's handkerchief in his pocket, the habit of 2 years. His good luck charm. Burbank Air Terminal at 0700. The P-80 sat on the ramp. Ground crew completing pre-flight checks. The crew chief approached. Young man, worried expression. Sir, we had fuel pump issues on yesterday's flight. Different aircraft, same model. Might want to postpone until we check this one thoroughly. Cole considered. Looked at the P-80. Sleek. Beautiful. Waiting. How thoroughly did you check the system? Standard inspection. Everything looked good. But sir, if you want to wait, I've flown 200 combat missions. I think I can handle a test flight. The crew chief nodded. Step back. Cole should have listened. Should have waited. Should have trusted the young mechanic's instinct the way Grimm had trusted his. But he didn't. He climbed into the cockpit, strapped in, ran through the checklist. Engine start. Instruments good. Taxi to runway. Tower cleared him for takeoff. Throttle forward. The jet engine screamed. Acceleration pushed him back in the seat. Nothing like a piston engine. Pure thrust. Pure power. At 120 knots, Cole rotated. The nose lifted. The P-80 climbed into morning sky. Los Angeles spread below. Mountains in the distance. Pacific Ocean glittering beyond. Cole leveled at 2,400 feet. Began the fuel system checks. Switching between tanks. Monitoring pressures. Everything nominal. The engine quit at 0813 local time. No warning, no sputter, just instant silence. The scream of the jet replaced by wind noise and Cole's own breathing. Fuel pump catastrophic failure. The same issue the crew chief had worried about. Cole's training took over. Emergency checklist, air start procedures, fuel selector check, ignition check, starter engaged, nothing. The engine stayed dead, altitude 2,200 feet, sinking at 800 feet per minute. Cole keyed the radio. Tower Lightning 1, engine failure, attempting restart. Copy Lightning 1, runway is clear for emergency landing. Cole aimed for the field, calculated glide ratio, distance to runway. He'd need every foot of altitude, 1,500 feet. Still too far. The math wasn't working. 1,200 feet. Houses below. Neighborhoods. Children playing in yards. Cole saw his options. Bail out. Let the P-80 crash wherever it crashed. Maybe into homes. Maybe into a school. He'd survive. Others might not. Or stay with the aircraft. Aim for the empty lot he could see 2 miles ahead. Control the crash. Accept the risk. The same choice he'd made over Brunei. Over New Guinea. Over 100 other engagements. Protect others. Except the Khmers. Cole stayed with the aircraft. 800 feet. The empty lot ahead. Almost within glide range. 600 feet. Close now, so close. 400 feet. He'd make it. Just barely. Mathematics and skill combining one final time. 200 feet. The lot filling his windscreen. Bare ground. No people. Perfect. Cole thought about Maggie, about the promise he'd made, about coming home. He thought about Grimm's son. Harrison rescued from his parachute, 40 bomber crews protected, lives saved through precision and sacrifice. 100 feet. He thought, at least I kept flying. 50 feet. He thought, at least I chose. Impact. Colton Vaughn was 24 years old. Dual endings, Pacific Ocean. Same moment. The B-29 Enola Gay approached Hiroshima. Commander Colonel Paul Tibbets gave the order. Bombardier Major Thomas Farabee released the weapon. Bomb away. The weapon fell. 43 seconds to detonation. At 0815 local time, 2 explosions changed the world. One in California. Lockheed test pilot killed in crash. Minimal coverage. Page 9, news buried beneath other stories. One in Japan. Atomic bomb destroys city. Front page headlines. The war changed forever. Colton Vaughn's death received 3 paragraphs in the Los Angeles Times, Medal of Honor recipient, 40 victories, record-setting ace, killed in test flight accident. The atomic bomb coverage consumed 17 pages. The age of aces ended the same day the atomic age began. Legacy Colton Vaughn Veterans Historical Center, Superior, Wisconsin. Present day, the building stands on Main Street. Modest, dignified, inside display cases hold artifacts of a war fought 80 years ago. The Medal of Honor, tarnished now but carefully preserved. 40 small flags, each representing a confirmed victory, each representing a choice. The nose art from Maggie's Wrath. Maggie's Wrath in white letters, preserved when the aircraft was scrapped in 1946. Flight logs. 200 missions documented in Cole's careful handwriting. Dates, names, targets, ammunition expended. And in the center display under glass Cole's innovation, diagrams of the visual reference system. The Vaughn method, the technique that changed aerial gunnery. A placard reads, "This system, developed by Lieutenant Colton Vaughn in 1943, was incorporated into Army Air Force training doctrine from 1946 through 1965. An estimated 200 additional enemy aircraft were destroyed by pilots using these techniques during the Korean War. Precision over aggression, mathematics over instinct." The Air Force Training Manual, 1946 edition, sits beside the display. Chapter 7, Advanced Deflection Shooting, the Vaughn Method. Margaret Vaughn never remarried. She maintained the memorial collection until her death in 2011, age 92. She'd waited 66 years, kept every letter Cole sent, wore the aluminum ring until arthritis forced her to stop, then kept it on a chain around her neck. Her last interview, recorded in 2009, Cole used to say precision beats aggression, that you solve problems with mathematics, not emotion. That's how he lived. That's how he fought. People call him a hero. He just called himself a mechanic who learned to aim. Every year on August 6th, a ceremony takes place at the memorial. Veterans attend, fewer each year. The war slipping from living memory into history. This year, one veteran made the journey. Robert Grimm, age 100, former ball turret gunman, son of Sergeant Walter Grimm. He stood before Cole's portrait. Old photograph. Young face, 22 years old, eyes that had seen too much. "He saved my life over Brunei," Robert told the assembled crowd. "Could have followed orders, stayed with his formation, but he didn't. He came back, fought 3 fighters alone, protected my aircraft, brought me home to my father." Robert's voice cracked. "I became a mechanic. Like my dad, like Lieutenant Vaughn. Worked on aircraft for 40 years. Every time I fixed something broken, made something work that shouldn't work, I thought about him, about precision, about doing the job right." He placed a wreath beneath the portrait. White flowers, simple, dignified. "I owe him everything, and I'm not the only one." General Theodore Holland's memoir, published 1968, devoted a chapter to Cole. Colton Vaughn represented the finest example of American innovation applied to warfare. He identified a problem, developed a solution, shared it freely. His personal score of 40 victories is impressive. His contribution to aerial warfare doctrine is transformative. History will remember the number. Those who served with him will remember the man. The record stands. 80 years later, no American pilot has surpassed 40 victories. Modern air combat, dominated by beyond visual range missiles and stealth technology, will never again produce the close-range dogfighting that characterized World War II. The last of the gunslingers. The farm boy who learned to aim. The mechanic who changed how America fights. 40 confirmed victories, 200 missions flown. One innovation that saved countless lives. The mathematics are absolute. The legacy endures. And in Superior, Wisconsin, on a quiet street where snow falls soft in winter, a small museum preserves the memory of a young man who promised to come home. He did come home, just not the way anyone hoped. But the promise was kept. The record stands. The method lives on. Colton Vaughn, 1921 to 1945. America's ace of aces, forever remembered.